So you run into somebody asking you a question about whether or not they ought to rent their old place out before they buy again, or if they should just sell it and move on, but you don't quite know how to respond. Well, check out this video right now. We're going to tell you everything you need to know about a scenario like this and how to move forward. What's happening? J.C Agajanian here, broker associate with the Whissel Realty Group, coming to you with a great topic today. We're talking about explaining the sell versus rent options for clients, and we had a specific scenario that we discussed this morning, and it just bared recording and sharing with you right now. So basically, the first thing we want to do is really figure out, is this truly an objection, or is this just a question that the client has? Because oftentimes, as salespeople, we can interpret simple questions as major objections that we need to overcome before we can actually move forward. And it's not always the case. Sometimes it's merely a question or even a thought framed in the form of a question that we thought was an objection, right? So we got to get out of our heads first and just take everything plainly as it comes and decide, what is this person that I'm talking to trying to get out of this thought or question or comment that they just made? We have to remember that we are the prescriptive counselor, the guide in the world of real estate. And so it may just be a simple situation where the person recognizes we know a little bit more about this than they do, and they're actually looking for our advice. Sometimes it's just anecdotal. They make a comment and it's not really worth that much of a conversation. A lot of times commission questions or condition questions or service questions come up like this, and we tend to freak out and think we have this objection we need to handle, when really we just need to answer the question and move on. If it's a true objection, they're going to stop us from moving on, and we'll know it. Otherwise, that's probably the right thing to do. In this scenario, when we're talking about renting out the old house versus selling, we need to do the right digging up front. Why are they asking us this question? What concerns or dislikes about being a landlord are there? Like, is that an issue that we need to deal with? What are their plans next for themselves, for their primary residence, for other investments? Like, how do they want to take advantage of this property that they already own? And what are they trying to parlay it into? And do we need to help them guide how to get from A to B when sometimes the middle piece just isn't obvious to the client? Like, that may be the case as well. What are they going to do with the money they get if they sell it? You know, what's your plan? What are you pursuing? Is there something you're afraid of? And we should also do the best we can to size up their personality type. And even without knowing them intimately, we can often understand what they may be more averse to and what they may be more open to. The DISC profile is huge for this. And frankly, a perfect example is if you find yourself talking to somebody and you know they're an engineer, they're probably not going to be super risk open. They're going to be more risk averse, and they're going to want to know every little bit of detail because they're a high C. That's just what engineers are. So the more you educate yourself on that, the better you're going to be able to quickly and easily size up the person you're talking to and be able to speak their language the best of your ability. So everything we're going to talk about moving forward on this scenario has to come out of things that we learned from the client about their personal situation, right? My personal situation is, I always think if a client can hold on to a property and still accomplish that next goal, which may be buying another investment property or buying a bigger and better home of their own or moving out of town, whatever their goal is, if they can do it and still hang on to that property, I think they're going to be better off. And I have talked myself out of multiple listings because of that mentality. But while I'm talking myself out of those listings, I am earning trust, and I'm more focused on that. I'm more focused on them sharing this great experience with their friends and family or using me again in the future than I am capturing that one deal right here and now. So if we are discussing the situation with someone and they're really not sure what they're going to do long term, and they're probably going to sell it maybe in the short term, maybe a year or 2 or 3 from now, there's a good chance that they may need to hear one of the most common talk tracks we've used around this scenario in a long time, which is like, listen, We don't really know what the future holds, but we know what the market's doing right now, and we're pretty confident of what we'd be able to accomplish for you if we were to take this property to market with our entire strategy and plan in place. That includes painting those cabinets that we talked about and doing some new carpet here, et cetera, et cetera. We have a pretty good handle on what we can expect you to get cash in hand. Right now, we don't know which direction the market's going to go in the next year or 2 or 3 or even longer. So if you're satisfied with that and you know this is not going to be a long-term hold, we may want to go ahead and take some action right away so that we can take advantage of the certainty that we have right now and not punt to the uncertainty that we have down the road. Doesn't that make sense to you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? That's a great line to move, especially if they really don't know what they're doing down the road and what is a year or 2 going to do for you. Anyways, let's go ahead and take this action now. Get you moving on your next plan right away. But often, even that is a bit of a preliminary conversation, because what people in this situation really need is some financial breakdown. They need to know what investing in this property would look like if they didn't already own it. So let's take fresh eyes and look at this one and say, hey, what if we were going to buy this property that you already own as an investment property? Let's look at it from the breakdown with the loan amount that you've already got on it, with the current market rents that exist, with your tax situation, the equity position that you have. Let's evaluate this as an investment property. And as we do that, they could be into this property in such a sweet position because they bought it a long time ago, or they paid down the mortgage a bunch, or they got one of those super low rates when the refinancing boom took place. Whatever the case, there could be a phenomenal situation for them to really rake in cash flow on that property right away. It might not be that. They might think that they are breaking even when really they're going deep in the negative because of property taxes and insurance and the unforeseen vacancies and repairs that are not factored into the numbers that they're looking at, right? So we need to help them have a sober view of the investment that they're looking at. It may be that it's a great deal, or it may be that they need to take this thing and move it into that next killer home that they want to live in, or maybe they're happy where they're at, and maybe this property here would be better used to sell and get into a different one that's going to have better rate of return for them. If that's the case, now the fact that you told them you don't want to list it because they're better off keeping it could end up paying off because you've earned their trust and saying, actually, I think you ought to do this instead. And that really jumps into your favor while you're at it with these multiple transactions going on all at once. So we really need to figure out what's in it for them. What do the numbers look like, and how well are they going to be doing on a monthly basis once this decision has been made? So in the end, it may take a little effort, but really the right thing to do is to set up a meeting and just dig deep on the analysis. You may even want to bring a lender to your meeting, because now you want to talk about their old property plus their ability to get into either that new investment property or that nice big home for themselves. And they can help you crunch numbers as well. But whatever the case is, a situation like this always calls for attention to detail, focused on the client's needs, and your needs second, of course, in order to help them figure out what's going to be the best move for them. As usual, I'm happy to chat more about this or any other topic on your mind. Hit me up with the contact information below, or just leave a message and I'll talk to you soon.